host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 25 or 30 minutes. It's a Thursday, and we got a lot to talk about, starting with the Edmonton Oilers winning game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals yesterday, 4-3 in overtime on a Leon Draisaitl snipe-ski off great puck movement from the Oilers. We have to break down the NBA Finals, which gets started tonight. So we'll go through OKC versus Indiana, and then we got some Major League Baseball to talk about as well. So saddle up, because we have a really good Rome show for you here today on a Thursday. If you want to get in on the action, head to YouTube or X, okay? Go to 12OZ Sports. That's the number 12OZ Sports. Then go ahead and comment live right there. We'll get your live comments here on the show, and then we'll be able to discuss or have a conversation, whatever you would like. Follow the show, The Rome Show, on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. All of the social media sites are where you can find the Rome Show social media handle. Let's get started in the National Hockey League. Last night, you saw a fantastic game with which the Edmonton Oilers scored less than 2 minutes into the contest. The Florida Panthers then scored 2 unanswered goals, 3 actually unanswered goals. And then you saw Edmonton come back, tie the game at 3 in the third period, and with less than 1 minute left in the overtime period, watch this puck movement and watch this OT winner for the Edmonton Oilers. At 2 assists, Connor McDavid at 2 assists, Corey Perry and Vasily Podolinsin had 1 assist. Half the reason why I love doing the hockey segments on this show is because of the crazy names. Check out this angle of the OT winner. 1 puck, 2 puck, 3 puck movement from the Edmonton Oilers. And this is what we've been talking about with this team and why they are so good. They're athletic, they're fast. 14 different guys can come at you in any way. And yesterday they found a way to break through for a very, very important game 1 victory, because though the Edmonton Oilers, took the Panthers to 7 games in the Stanley Cup final last year, it was a completely different feeling after 3 games of that series. Edmonton went down 3-0 in that Stanley Cup Finals last year, and it presumably felt like they didn't even have a chance to win a game. They flipped that script, obviously winning 3 straight and forcing a game 7. But then you come into this year, and you're looking at the Finals rematch, and the facts are the facts, okay? Everybody way more confident in Florida's ability to come back to the Stanley Cup this year than Edmonton's, okay? Everybody confident about Florida's ability to stay locked on the opportunity to win a Stanley Cup. Everybody had concerns about the defense/goaltending for the Edmonton Oilers. You knew Florida was a complete team. You always had question marks about Edmonton outside of their offense, okay? We know. They're a top offensive team in the league. They are the best offensive team throughout the entirety of the postseason. But you felt like there were significantly less question marks on the Florida Panthers than there were the Edmonton Oilers. And yesterday, Edmonton did exactly what they needed to do. Besides the fact that you don't want to lose a game at home in a 7-game series. What's the old adage? Series hasn't started till a team has lost a game on home ice or home court or home field, whatever. So besides the fact that you wanted to defend the Den in Alberta, Canada, okay, that changes the entire feel for this Oilers team going into this series. Because not only did you win game number one, something that you could not do last year, something that even though you made a comeback last year, it never really felt like you were hoisting that cup, but maybe for 12 minutes after game number 6 was won. You now put doubt into the minds of the Florida Panthers, with which the Lightning did, if you remember correctly. The Tampa Bay Lightning went up 2-0 in their series against the Florida Panthers, but then rattled off 4 straight victories and sent the Tampa Bay Lightning home. Okay. But for an Oilers team that came in last year and in games 1, games 2, and games 3 did nothing in the Stanley Cup final, this year, you knew you had to start game 1 absolutely hot out the gates. And they did that. A goal a minute and a half into the game off the stick of Leon Draisaitl. They ignited the fans. And they played good puck. And over the course of essentially 80 minutes, they get a much-needed game number 1 victory. And it was not just because of the offense for the Oilers yesterday. Because the man in net, who a lot of people have had question marks for, saw 32 shots last night from arguably the second best offense in the postseason and made 29 saves. None bigger than those during the overtime period. Okay? Game number 2 will happen in 2 days. To finish, why was Edmonton able to skate and play with the Panthers? Well, if you go back to Hockey with Rocky on a Wednesday, Rocky mentioned that the Oilers must be able to handle the type of game the Panthers play. The Panthers can be fast, but they can be physical. They want to be physical, and they want to kind of bully you around. Where the Oilers have the illusion of a fast, quick, athletic team. And most of the time, those teams don't like getting punched in the face. Okay? Well, yesterday, 51 hits for the Panthers, 51 hits for the Edmonton Oilers. Total penalties for the Panthers, 4. Penalties for Edmonton, 3. Block shots for Edmonton, 21. Block shots for the Panthers, 19. Okay? And the Panthers had +2 in the turnover category. Those right there, that right there is the reason why the Oilers are able to skate with a gritty, tough, hard-nosed Panthers team, because they went into it gritty, hard-nosed, and tough. We might be the most athletic team on this ice, that is the Oilers. And you might be the most physically dominant, most best presence, best goalie, but we ain't going to let that stop us. And the team that wins game number 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals wins the Stanley Cup 76% of the time. Okay? So talk about numbers being in your favor. Lastly, by the way, Paul Maurice was 31-0 when leading after the first and second period of a postseason game until last night, where the Edmonton Oilers made him 31 and compilation. Well, just kidding. We were watching the game winner one more time from Leon Draisaitl. Some other news in the National Hockey League before we take a quick break here. Rocky was on yesterday talking about the former Rangers that are in the postseason in the National Hockey League for other teams, including, I keep calling him Chuck Knobloch, but I think it's Chris Knobloch, the head coach for the Edmonton Oilers, who was the assistant coach for the New York Rangers. And Rocky's main point yesterday, if you missed it, get the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search the Rome Show podcast. Rocky's main point yesterday was The Rangers have to stop letting all these great people walk out the building and win for other teams. Well, it happened again yesterday, where former assistant coach from 2023 to 2025, Dan Muse, has now been hired as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a chance to see if Rocky's thoughts come into fruition here. Okay. In about 3 or 4 years, when we're on a Hockey with Rocky on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, we're going to ask him how he feels about Dan Muse as the Pittsburgh Penguins head coach. And if the Penguins are good at that time and the Rangers are still in this cycle of the same thing every 4 years, I have a feeling Rocky will not be very happy. The CBA talks are going well in the National Hockey League as well. The CBA is up in September of 2026. So almost a year and change to get that CBA figured out. Let's talk Major League Baseball real quick before we take a commercial break. On the back end of the commercial break, we will have all the breakdown for you. Oklahoma City versus Indiana tonight, game 1 of the NBA Finals. But first, I would like to talk a little Major League Baseball, because on my Daily Bananas pick the other day, I chose the Colorado Rockies to win their second straight contest, okay, against the Miami Marlins, which would have been only the second time all year the Colorado Rockies had won 2 straight games, okay? Well, the Rockies did just that in defeating the Marlins in that second straight game, and then tripled down and beat the Marlins again. So yesterday, the Colorado Rockies, who are historically, through 60 games, the worst team in Major League Baseball history since the year 1900, the Colorado Rockies swept a series for the first time since May of 2024. That was their first series victory of the season. Check out this, okay? Here are your records by the month. And just so you're aware, the Rockies, who currently sit right now 12-50, have won 33% of their games in 5 days in June. Think about that. 33% of the victories that the Rockies have accumulated, 25% of the victories, bad math there. You said there would be no math. 25% of the victories accumulated by the Colorado Rockies have happened in a 5-day span in June. They were 1-3 in March, 4-22 in April, 4-24 in May, and then 3-1 so far in the month of June. Still the worst record in baseball by a long shot. Now they have a chance to see if they can keep their streak alive against the New York Metropolitans, who swept them in 3 games last week, and the Metsies, who just came off of a really good 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. They'll finish up that series against the Dodgers tonight before they take on the Rockies tomorrow. Another team trying to go from worst to first is the Baltimore Orioles. They have won 5 straight contests, improving their record to 24-36. They have now won 8 of their last 10. And in that 10-game stretch, they had a 3-game winning streak and now a 5-game winning streak. This all came off the heels of an 8-game losing streak and a 1-10 record over the course of an 11-game streak. Why are all of a sudden the Baltimore Orioles playing significantly better baseball than they had been in the past? It's all about their pitching staff. In the 10-game span with which the Orioles are now 8-2 and have a 5-game winning streak, the pitching staff of Baltimore has produced a 2.55 runs per game number, meaning they're only giving up 2.5 runs a game. And for an offense that during that same span is averaging about 4.5, That's a big time plus minus differential on the pitching staff to the offensive output. So the Baltimore Orioles streaking. Now, this is how good the AL East is. They are, let me do this quick math, 6.5, I believe, games out of fourth place in the AL East, because Boston's 30-34 in fourth place, and then everyone else is over 500. And it's not like the Yankees are running away with this thing. They're 37-23, and tied for second is Tampa and Toronto at 32-29. Best division in baseball, hands down, AL East. And if the Orioles keep streaking, you might see it become even more of a bogged down mess, and 3 wild cards might, not saying definite, but might have a high probability of coming out of the AL East. That's your Major League Baseball update. Thought we'd take a turn for the opposite today and talk a little bit about the opposite of good. You know, we always talk about the Metsies and the Dodgers and the teams that are playing well, but how about the Rockies? How about the Orioles? Okay, that's some good stuff. And that right there, all jokes aside, grows the game, makes the game better. Because that was the worst attended Major League Baseball game in a really long time, Rockies versus Marlins. And that cannot happen. That's not good for the sport. So the more winning, the better baseball play, the more these bad teams can really turn it around. White Sox, Rockies, Orioles, Pirates. So much better for the game. The Rome Show, 12ozsports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, it's an NBA Finals preview. The Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Indiana Pacers. Game 1 is tonight, and we have notes and keys to the game and series for you coming out of this commercial break. It's Andrew. It's you. It's the Rome Show on 12OZ Sports, and we're back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
It's the Rome Show!
Oh, yeah, it's the Rome Show. 12ouncesports.com. Broadcasting live on YouTube and X. You guessed it. Comment live on both those spots, and we can chat on the show if you would like to. I love when people write in. Makes the show so much more fun. Conversation, disagreements, thoughts from outside of the microphone. Whatever. As long as you're enjoying the show, that's all that matters to us. If you missed any part of the show, and you're like, dang, this show is really good, but what do you talk about for the first 23 minutes? Oh, just hit the Rome Show podcast wherever you get your podcasts and you'll be fine. The social media handles are The Rome Show 1, Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok. It's in the bottom left side of your screen. If you forget, just look at the screen. Tonight in the NBA, it's the finals. It starts in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, for only the second time in the history of the game. 8:30 tonight on ABC. The Thunder in game number 1 are favored by 9.5 points. Okay, 9.5 points. All right, and I think a lot of that is because on paper, OKC is a significantly better, quote unquote, on paper. This is not my thought. This is just the idea here as to why they're favored by so much, is because Oklahoma City Thunder is a better team throughout the last 100 games of basketball that we have watched. But that's not really the case, because on paper, you're just looking at statistics. But when it comes down to being the best team on the basketball court, this is a 1A, 1B scenario. These are two of the best teams by definition in the National Basketball Association. And look no further than the defensive side of the ball. Indy giving up 113.3 points per game. OKC giving up only 106 points per game. 7-point edge for Oklahoma City Thunder, but both teams have the grittiness to get down and dirty when it comes down to slowing another team down and forcing them into uncomfortable situations. On the Indiana side, they move the basketball so well. There is no one person that they care has the most amount of points. There's no one person on the Pacers that they are running the whole offense through. We might talk the most about Tyrese Halliburton, but he doesn't even lead the team in points. Pascal Siakam does. Okay? Halliburton leads the team in assists, and so does Indiana as a team. In the postseason, the Pacers averaged the most assists per game by a long shot at 28.1, which just goes to show you how well they move the basketball around. This is going to be an offensive showdown, okay? Both teams are averaging just over 117 points per game, and that is good for 1 and 2 during the 2-month postseason run. The Indiana Pacers, they are first in the NBA in the postseason in field goal percentage at 49.7% and 3-point field goal percentage at 40.1%. And honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm watching a track team when I watch Indiana's athleticism get up and down the floor. On the flip side, that's the worst attribute for the Oklahoma City Thunder. That would be the 3-point line. They only shoot 33.6% from beyond the arc. However, their field goal percentage is 46.5. Okay, so they're fourth in the NBA over the course of the postseason in field goal percentage, but damn near last in 3-point field goal percentage. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second when we get to our keys to the game. Here, though, is where you're going to see Goliath meet Goliath, okay? Because the defense of OKC for the entirety of the NBA season has been the best defense. Besides them being the best team, arguably the best offense, there is no doubt the Thunder had the best defense in the National Basketball Association over the course of the regular season and the postseason. And that is now shown when they're holding their opponents to 42.5% from the field right now. Okay? An awesome number. And that's where Goliath meets Goliath. The top defense in the league holding teams to 42.5% from the field against the top field goal shooting team in the postseason at 49.7% in the Indiana Pacers. Goliath versus Goliath, heavyweight versus heavyweight, going at it right there. So here are my keys to the game. we got to throw on our sports music so we can break it down for the number one key to the game. OKC's got to slow down the Pacers. That's just a fact. One thing that we saw against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals is Indiana wants to get a missed shot and they want to go. They want to get out in transition, create odd man breaks, and score within 15, let's call it 12 seconds of the shot clock. It feels like when Indiana is going their best on offense, they are getting rebounds or even off a make sometimes. They are just taking advantage of the opposing team getting back slower, getting back not under control defensively, and that is a key aspect to this team. So if you're the Thunder, first and foremost, you're not allowing this to become a track meet. To the best of your ability, you're going to slow the Pacers down. And by the way, if that means you as OKC has to play a little bit more in the half court, that's okay. All right. You just don't want to have to get into a sprint with this team. That's key number one. Key number two. All right. You have to contest shots. You cannot allow the ball movement of the Indiana Pacers to create wide open looks. We already referenced it earlier. Best 3-point shooting team in the postseason is who? The Pacers. Best field goal shooting percentage team in the postseason is who? The Indiana Pacers. So outside of slowing down this offense and not allowing them to get out there and run and get out there and find space, you have to close out the gaps on the shooters. You have to play essentially white on rice defense. You got to be all over that guy. There cannot be space and time for shooters on the Pacers, because if that's the case, you're going to have 6 different dudes scoring 15 or more points every night. Key number 3, Indy cannot let OKC get quality mid-range shots. Think the middle of the blocks to about the 20, 22-foot range, whatever's right in front of the three-point line. That is the bread and butter for this Thunder team. You give them a 10 to a 20-foot look, they are the best team in the league knocking those down, okay? You give them the opportunity to pump fake off the line or not have to shoot threes and be able to dribble, drive, stop, pop, or, and this is my final key, go to the line. Indiana cannot allow OKC to go to the line. It is not necessarily that the Thunder are the best free throw shooting team, but SGA, he's going to find his way to the line. Okay. And that's the last thing you need is foul trouble on the Indiana side. Okay. So besides the fact that you want to force OKC to shoot the three, if you're going to lose, you want to lose with OKC somehow beating you with 3-pointers, because it's clearly the worst attribute of their offense. Okay. Don't allow the mid-range if you're Indiana, and force OKC into the long range, and don't put SGA at there. Don't do it, okay? Because he wants that. He wants to force you to foul trouble, get those contested mid-ranges, and maybe the old school 3-point play tonight, okay? Like I said earlier, OKC favored by 9.5. And to be honest with everybody here, I think I might take it. I think I'm going to take the Thunder at the minus 9.5. I think it's just one of those, let's open this thing up here. Okay, we're at home. We're fired up. They've done this to every team in every series so far. Okay, and though I believe in the Pacers, and though I believe this thing is going to go 6 games, okay, I think that tonight the Thunder stamp on it, game number 1, and they win it by 9.5. Give me SGA over 25, and give me Siakam over 15. Okay, those are going to be my daily bananas for you, for the people, and I have it on the board behind me. I have the Thunder in 6. Cool part about this championship, ladies and gentlemen, is you are going to get a first-time NBA champion franchise with this NBA Finals. OKC or Indiana? I'm taking OKC in 6. Hit me up on social media. Let me know what your thoughts are on the NBA Finals or anything we've talked about here on The Rome Show. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for a little Friday Feels, what to watch, and so much more. You have an electric Thursday. This is Andrew Romanella telling you peace.
Thank you for listening.